All right. Hi, we got John Forcone, and I just added Chuck Culver. We're doing good. All right. I'm trying to think if there's anybody we're missing right off the bat. Maybe the Bill Weekly or Janice Kuckler might join us, but we pretty much have most everybody, I think. And I told Todd from Portal Architect that he could probably join the meeting around 6:30 or so. So we'll probably see him around then.
Joel, Janice is with us.
Oh, she is. Okay. I didn't see her pop in.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Well, if it's okay with everybody, maybe we start this meeting with prayer. Why don't I offer a prayer as we get started? Loving and gracious God, we give you thanks for this opportunity to be together, as crazy and odd as this is, to be together virtually. We know that you have this in your hands, and you have this building project in your hands, and Harmony Springs in your hands, and that you can see all of this through, and that you are way ahead of us on all of this. So, loving God, just calm our anxieties and nerves about all of this and help us to see the path forward. May your Spirit guide our discussion and our conversation tonight. Guide and direct us, Holy Spirit, that we may be able to hear from you in these moments ahead. From each of our homes, may your Spirit bring us all together. In your name we ask this. Amen. All right. Maybe we start with Ron. Ron, I thought maybe you and I had a little bit of a conversation about how the coronavirus and all of this is affecting your work and how you think it might affect us. Maybe just give us an update on that and where you think it affects our project, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Well, we're still operational. We're ready to move ahead with you as quickly as you want to. The thing that we're going to see and have to deal with is probably just some lead time extensions, possibly on certain pieces of equipment or materials. We'll have to work with subcontractors. Some are working and some are not. But as far as moving ahead with the project, we're poised to move if you guys say you want to do that. I think I had sent out a letter, I don't know, was it last week or maybe even the week before? All of these days are running together. That was a generic letter we sent out to all of our clients, just kind of prefacing or setting the tone for what may happen or what may be coming. But yeah, we're still ready to move ahead here if you guys want to.
Do you all have any questions for Ron about all of this going on or anything you want to ask?
I guess before you do that, I would say,
yeah, go ahead, Ron.
The projects that we are working on, we're being very cautious and mindful of the requirements from CDC. We've read the rules, the regulations. We'll have the things on site that we need as far as for guys to wash their hands. We won't bring as many people in at one time on your project as we probably normally would at certain times, so we can keep the distancing at least as long as it's in effect. But the projects that we have going now seem to be going along just fine with a little more attention to how we schedule things.
Questions, comments, concerns?
This is Chuck Culver. Just curious if construction was construction business essential according to the restrictions that they put in place?
Yeah, construction's stayed on the essential list. In fact, we've given all of our guys a card to carry that we got through one of our attorneys stating that it is an essential activity. So at this point, they still have not told us no. If you read through all the documents that were coming out early on and even the ones that have been out later, construction still remains essential, and it is listed as construction by itself.
Do you foresee a big issue with supplies and materials and things like that? I know it's kind of hard to tell, but I wonder if things are going on in the construction industry like they are at the grocery store.
It's hard to know. I'm going to say for the most part, I don't see any real problems here. John, I know you're on. Maybe you can jump in and help me out with this question a little bit. Do you see any items that would be potential hang-ups?
Well, right now, all the manufacturers that are manufacturing construction components are still operational at reduced rates, though. They're not running full tilt because they're a little bit leery about having a bunch of stock, too. But based on everything that we're seeing, the only thing that we're starting to see is steel is starting to push out on deliveries. But the thing about this particular project, there's very little steel on it. It's almost all wood. And the wood suppliers have plenty sitting on the ground and at reload centers, so that shouldn't be a problem. The biggest concern would be the RTU systems, because those are longer lead time items, and if they get crunched, it could push back a little bit. But we've got those drawings. We got them today, so they're out to a couple of subs to take a look at and see what kind of lead times we're looking at. So we should have a better answer here in a couple of days.
So probably, yeah, the heating units and the lighting would be the two things that there might be a little longer lead time on, but we can be proactive with those things if we can get our subs in line here, which we usually do right up front, and get those things coming. Shouldn't have a huge impact, but like John said, we'll know a little bit more after we talk to some of the subs here.
Ron, are there questions you all have for us? There's Todd.
Well, obviously our biggest question is just how you want to move from here forward into construction. We, like I said, we're ready to go. We can start getting things laid out, schedules put together, get our ducks in a row, and get a groundbreaking date developed. but that's really going to be based on what you tell us tonight. You know, if you say, hey, that's what we want to do, then we'll start moving in that direction. If you say, no, we want to approach it some other way, then, you know, we'll move in that direction. You know, we're right now, you know, we're trying to feel our way through this too. We're looking at schedules on other jobs. You know, the quicker you can give us an answer, it just helps us out. I'm not trying to push you or rush you, but it just makes it easier for us to look at our overall schedule.
Sure. Hi, Todd. I saw you join the meeting. We were just talking a little bit with Ron about the coronavirus and how it's affecting our whole schedule and everything.
Nope, got my mic on now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
I guess, you know, with so many of us on the call, I don't want to speak for anybody. If I start speaking out of turn your mic on and interrupt me, I guess. But I haven't heard that anybody has said that we want to slow things down at this point. If I mean, I think everybody understands if this whole thing, because of coronavirus, slows us down, you know, the process in some way, shape, or fashion. I understand. I think we all understand that. But I don't know if anybody out there on the leadership has some reason they can think of that I'm not, that we should slow the process down. I can certainly entertain that conversation, but I haven't heard that yet from anybody.
This is John Forcone. I think we should go ahead. We're ready to go. The weather's good. Let's go. I vote to go.
Okay.
I agree.
This is Greg Blanchard. I would ask the question a slightly different way and specifically entertain any objections to moving forward, with moving forward being the assumed position.
Yes. Understood.
Do you want to repeat that, Joel? I didn't quite hear everything Greg said.
Yeah, sure. And Chuck signed out and signed back in. Chuck, we were just discussing, I was kind of speaking on behalf of everyone, I guess, but I was Ron was saying that the sooner we can give Weaver an answer on us, you know, deciding to continue moving forward and, you know, giving them a yes, then we can, they can get moving on putting together timelines and construction timelines and that kind of thing. I haven't heard from anyone. Maybe, you know, as chair of the trustees, you can speak to that also, but I haven't heard from anyone that from our perspective, we have any desire to slow the process down because of all this. We understand that coronavirus might slow it down, you know, the supply chain in some way, shape, or fashion. But what Greg was saying was that he was posing the question to everyone this way. He was just sort of saying we should assume that we all are still a go and that everyone is voting, let's keep moving forward the way we had planned, unless someone speaks up, sort of a speak now or forever hold your peace situation here.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we've got anything to be gained by waiting. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Since we're able to proceed, I think we should.
If they do shut down the construction because of the coronavirus, what would happen if we were in a position that that damage would be done to what has been built so far?
Yeah, well, I don't. That won't happen. I mean, I'd be very shocked if that would happen. If they would go as far as a total lockdown where, you know, everybody's at home, they would have to allow us to get it to a point where we could pull off and not have damage.
Okay.
And really the first part of what we're doing here, you know, with the site work and even with the foundations going in and undergrounds and slabs being poured, we would be hard pressed to get ourselves in a position in the early going here of a place where we couldn't stop for a while if we had to and put the project at jeopardy. You know, as we go through site work, we'll be mindful of making sure as we're doing it that the site is draining, which we do anyway because we don't want a wet site. That things are where they need to be. We're putting foundations in. Even if we would get as far as the footers and they would say, now you got to pull off, you know, we could stop at that point and come right back and then start laying block on those footers. We might have a little bit of cleanup work to do to get some mud out if some falls in, but all the way up to framing. And even if we got to framing, if we had to stop for a while, it wouldn't be the worst thing. Obviously, what we would want to try and do is get the roof on and get it covered up and closed in at that point. But the time of the year that we're in, it's a little bit better now too than if this was winter. Then I would have more concerns. But you know, the freezing temperatures are over with. We don't have to worry about the ground freezing anymore. We don't have to worry about getting shut down for 2 or 3 weeks based on the weather itself, snow or long periods of rain. We're really at a good time of the year to get it started. I mean, spring brings rain with it, but then the sun comes out and things dry up.
True. Well, I don't have any objections to starting with the schedule that we've got going.
All right. I got a few people on the chat side of the conference saying yes. They're voting yes, full steam ahead. So I think, unless anyone wants to speak up otherwise, I think we're still a go, Rob.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. I mean, really where we're at then is just trying to get the plans finalized. I'm not sure if that is completed, if your kitchen layout is exactly where you want it.
No, it's not.
Okay. John Fiala, can you jump in here and talk through the process? I know we have a few things we have to submit for. Can you just talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, I know Todd is, it looks like somebody's got the drawings up now, looking at submitting as soon as possible. I don't want to speak for you, Todd, but we are waiting on a couple of drawings from Todd to be able to submit to the developer's architect for final approval. We have preliminary okay. There was just a couple of things he wanted to see. And Todd and Joel, I sent you guys an email this afternoon with what they're asking for. The only other item that we're holding on at the present time is the house numbering, which I sent to you earlier today. Joel, did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So really it's going to come down to when we're ready to submit these plans to the building department, or when Todd is. And I think that's what we're trying to discuss here as we get these drawings up, to make sure everybody's happy with what's drawn, or if there's any changes we need to make, final changes. At that point, I'll leave it to you, Todd. I'm assuming you're next.
Okay. Yeah, I got your email regarding the couple things you need for the developer. Yeah, I'll get those over to you. One thing was the screening or the paint on the HVAC equipment. So we may have to show some shrubbery or something around the back half, if that's the back of the trash area, if that's objectionable to them. And then I'll get you the rendering as well. But those were the only two items that I saw, so that shouldn't be an issue. And as far as
I agree.
Okay. And as far as getting into the building department, you know, we were planning on doing that. You know, we got to print it out today. We're planning on doing that as quick as possible. And then since it sounds like we're going to go, I think we'll just get it in and because I'm not sure how long, if usually it's 30 days, but with the shutdown the way it is, it may take even longer. So I think even if we do find some minor changes or here along the way, we can address that. But I think the sooner we get it in the building department, the better. So we're
I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're moving walls slightly here or there, or changing kitchen equipment, it's not going to matter too much in the end. But we'll want to get any revisions done sooner than later. But as far as getting at least started the review with the building department is going to be key, I think. Is there any other questions with the plans or anything like that I can address?
I thought maybe since we went through, I guess where we left off before all this coronavirus stuff was we had a meeting with the leadership to go through the budget, and then I went through the budget based on some of Chuck's numbers with Ron and Weaver, and then they sent some changes to you. So I thought maybe we could just bring everybody up to date. If you don't mind, maybe just going through some of the changes that they had forwarded, that Weaver had forwarded to you, that we asked you to make based on the budget changes we needed.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll start with it. It really wasn't a whole lot to speak of, but it was. I think it did save money in the end with what we did do. We had some larger doors on the back side, the patio side. We shrunk those down. There were a set of 3 doors, which was a 9-foot opening, and we shrunk them down to 6 feet. So there's two 6-foot openings now on the patio side. We showed the fencing along the back side of the patio, the perimeter of the patio. We showed that as future. We didn't include that in the bid. Anybody can stop me along the way here if you have any questions.
A question on the fencing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that required by the city as corralling drunkards?
Well, it is. I think the thought was when that becomes an issue, we would address that issue. And we can look into that. But and Joel, you can correct me, but I thought just to get the budget down to where we need, just going to leave that an open patio. There's nothing that says you couldn't put temporary fencing up on an as-come, if needed basis per event until you got enough monies to get the type of fence that you want to put in there.
All right.
We put in the large opening between the sanctuary and the narthex. We left the opening there, but we took out the large door. We did size the trusses to hang this door in the future, so it can be put in when the time comes. But that has been taken out of the bid. The fireplace that we had on the wall in the narthex, we removed that in lieu of a future electric fireplace that we were going to put in there. We showed opposite in the narthex, opposite the kitchen, we showed a future sink cabinet area where before we had a larger cafe, coffee bar area. We showed a future area in order to get plumbing roughed in for that. And we're just showing now would be a movable coffee cart, coffee bar area. So that area could be addressed down the road when there's more money to put in a larger coffee bar. Let me see here. I think flooring was one of the finishes on the flooring came up. We ended up putting carpet in the narthex and the sanctuary, and I believe in the classroom areas because this was not quite as expensive as polished concrete. We left concrete in the restrooms, just plain concrete, sealed concrete, and the kitchen is going to have a vinyl flooring, which is required by code. But that's where we saved a little bit of money on the finishes.
So, is the whole building going to be carpeted except for the bathrooms and kitchen then?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And what is the flooring in that outer door area, in the vestibule?
The vestibule is a walk-off carpet tile designed for collection of dirt and
Okay.
slushy shoes and
Yeah.
things like that. So I'm thinking that was the extent. We ended up keeping the sprinkler system and the fire alarm. John, can you think of anything else? I think that covered it, unless I'm missing something.
So
Yeah,
there's
the
a
only
wall.
other thing,
Oh, sorry.
the
There's
only
a
other
wall
thing,
again between the narthex and the sanctuary. Then
Pardon me, I didn't catch the first of that.
there's a wall again. I thought that was wide open.
It is.
Between the
It is open.
sanctuary and yeah, it's all open. We took out the folding wall, the movable wall, and it is sized and structured in our design to put it in at a later date. But that was a pretty costly item to put in there, so it is open in these final drawings.
Okay, because I thought it looked like there was a wall there now that wasn't, instead of a future state. So it's still open. Okay.
Yeah. The drawing we're looking at now shows the alternate folding wall that we were showing as just a future item.
Mm-hmm. We had talked about getting rid of some of the cabinetry for money saving. Did we do that or no?
We have shown a general item, like as far as the reception desk and the two areas, one behind the reception desk and in the conference room, are where the other cabinetry items are. These can be omitted. We have shown them on the drawings, but there's nothing code related. So if they need to be omitted for cost reasons, we can surely do that. I don't think it's a large amount because there's only really 18 foot of cabinetry, but I think that's something you could work out with Weaver as far as where the cost of that is, and we didn't really design it as such. It's just kind of a placeholder at this time.
John,
Okay.
John, how did we end up with that in the budget?
good question. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head here. Give me a second. I'm trying to pull the stuff up here. The one question, though, that I know, Greg, you're asking about the soap dispensers and items like that. They were such a small amount, we'd already hit the number that we didn't take it out. Some of the items in the bathroom you guys want to take it out are required by code, so we left those in. But if you give me about 5 minutes, I'll have an answer on those cabinets.
Okay.
I was thinking off the top that we didn't remove the cabinets from the estimate, but John could tell us for sure.
Okay.
One other thing we did look into was the hood over the dishwasher, and whether or not we wanted to look into a different option for that. It is required with the type of dishwasher that we showed. So we did look into another dishwasher, but because of the ventless type dishwasher was roughly $8,000 more than the one that we showed. So it really was more expensive to go with a ventless and then put in what we have shown with the hood and a vent. So it really didn't make sense to change that out.
Todd, some people were asking about that. I'm pulling it up. There's just a little bit of a lag. Yeah, the little bit of an inset in the doors going into the storage room off of there. You gave us an answer, but I just will you give everyone the answer on why that is there so everyone knows?
Yes, the main supply and return for the sanctuary, which is our largest load, is coming straight over those doors. And we were having a lot of trouble getting the ductwork to work through there. So what ended up happening is we couldn't put it on the vertical face because it wasn't high enough. So we had to put the return in a 3-foot by 3-foot grill, which sits right over top of that alcove. And that's where all the return air is coming from the sanctuary. So unfortunately, we had to take a little bit of room out of the utility room. But I think if you see on our latest drawings, the equipment in that utility room didn't take up quite as much room as we thought. So I think you'll be happy with that. We do have more storage in there. So we opted, that was kind of the best case scenario to get that ductwork to work out there, because we also have a lot of spaghetti ductwork coming from the kitchen. So that utility room up high has got a lot of ductwork going on. So that was the reason for having that little alcove there.
Thank you.
Hey, if this is John, if I could jump in for just a second there. We had taken out the cabinets and countertop as a delay option in the last budget.
Okay.
But the reception desk is not part of that delay option?
The reception desk is part of the delay option.
It is part of the delay option. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. When is a good time to talk about kitchen design?
I was just going to say that, Carol. Will you go ahead and ask Todd your questions you wanted to ask about the kitchen?
Well, seeing that we're not going to be doing the bar, I'd like to close up the door into the bar. That made me lose 4 feet of counter space that I desperately need. And the dish run has a wall right down the middle of it. I want that to be more flat against that wall. Like taking out the wall that comes out into the room and turning the sinks against that wall. If we have to move the door that goes into the narthex, I would be willing to move that door just to be able to flatten out the dish run. So the 3-bay sink, the garbage disposal, the dishwasher, and any counter space after the dishwasher, I would prefer to be on a straight line, if at all possible.
Okay. Yeah, the reason that ended up that way is we just ran out of room, and we needed a wall to run the plumbing. So yeah, it kind of evolved to where, well, now we got some back when we took out the cafe door, so we could move the door 115 there down in order to get the 3-bay and turn that the washing the dishwasher and that sink there. So I think we could reconfigure a little bit and get that to work.
Yeah, that would be best, because as it is right now, we've got all of the dirty dishes coming in on one side of the wall. Then you have to pick them up and carry them to the other side of the wall to get them to the washing machine. So as it stands right now, it's not workable.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
I think the rest is still okay. What?
They're going to seal the pass-through then, just because we're not putting in the bar right now?
We don't have a pass-through there. I think that we're going to have to either decide on a pass-through or a door into the narthex. One or the other.
Todd was suggesting, I think, that you just could move that door 115 down a few feet. Right,
That's
Todd?
what I'm saying, is that we should just move that door down, have the coffee station right inside that door. I'm assuming we're going to do like a bun coffee maker kind of deal that would be accessible from the big room and the narthex through either one of those doors.
Yeah, I think if you know, moving that towards the sanctuary would kind of centrally locate it there in that narthex, and so it could work out a little nice to be a little closer to that corner if that's where you're going to keep them. I assume that coffee would be along that wall.
I'm thinking that door number 115 is going to move closer to countertop number 8 there, where we're going to try to configure all of this so that we've got the coffee maker in there somewhere along that wall with the ice maker and the vegetable sink. And I don't want to lose all of my counter space there, because you need to have a place to set stuff coming in and out.
Yeah, I think if you lost maybe one of those counters, 8, leave the one at the far wall, and lost 8, we can move that down closer to the sink, and then flip all the rest. And I think you'd have room to do that.
I think we're going to be okay. Yeah, I think that's going to work. I mean, not seeing it on paper, but seeing it in my head.
Well, Carol, I'll quickly sketch that up and send it on. Just get your approval on it and make sure it looks good.
Yeah, that would be great.
Hey, and Carol, Todd, I'd just like to interject there is that once these drawings are done, Carol, so you understand, it does get submitted to the Summit County Health Department for their review, and they have the I don't want to say right, but they do to make any changes that they so desire. So
yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah, so just be aware that there might be some changes down the road, but we'll try to lay it out as the best way we can for you.
Okay.
Okay. I'm multitasking here for a minute, just a second. The church also has a discussion Bible study groups starting at the same time, and apparently I have to start that one and let everybody else in at the same time. So we tried to set this up. So I thought I had it set up correctly for somebody else to do it, but apparently not. All right. I think, is that all we need from Todd, or do we have other questions from Todd? We could probably let him go about his business.
I think we can let him go.
Hey, Todd, just a quick question on the submission for permits. When would you see that happening?
I was hoping to do it tomorrow at the earliest. I mean, I know we've got this kitchen change, but we can always submit an addendum for that. But I might hold off if I can get this. I got to get my engineers involved, and so I might just get it submitted and then get it on the pile. They say that it's first come first serve there, so I'd hate to just delay any more than we already have. So
yeah, that's fine. That just gives me an idea of where we're at with that. So as we start looking at schedules here, we're working off of a date for permits.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know they're close to walk-ins up there, and you got to submit everything electronically. So they're notoriously slow in Summit County. So,
yep.
Hey, Joel.
Hey. All right. Anything else for Todd before I let him go?
Very good. Thanks a lot. I'm not sure why it's not working, but whatever. It says it is what it is.
Hi.
Hello. How's everything going? Good. Very good.
Okay. Jeez, man. This is a new world we're living in, isn't it?
yeah.
All right. Thanks, Todd, and thanks for being willing to be flexible and deal with all this. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. Just let me know if you need anything else.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Ron and the Weaver team, do you need anything else from us? What else do you need from us?
As far as I can tell, I think we're good. We know when Todd's going to submit. That gives us kind of a starting point to start building some schedules off of. As we get schedules put together, we'll be talking with you as far as actual start of the project then. John, is there anything on your end that you can think of?
Yeah. I just want to let everybody know that now that we have final drawings, especially on the mechanicals, we did not when we sent them out originally for pricing. We are sending those out. Most of them went out today, and we'll see if there's any surprises that we're not aware of. We'll know here within a couple of days. If there is, I don't anticipate any, but like I had said, we didn't have final drawings when we sent it out the first time, and I just want to, make sure we've got a hard set number before we get started.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to finalize that budget, and you need to know where you're at before we start, obviously.
Yeah, Ron, that was one question I wanted to ask you was obviously that was a thought I had was that we want to finalize the budget firm that up. And then would the next step be we got to do you'll send us like the construction contract?
Yeah. Yeah. Once we get the budget finalized, that'll become the controlling budget. We'll get the rest of your contract put in place and get that over to you and get that signed. And yeah, that'll take place. And then that'll take us into construction. I'm not sure where we're at. I'll have to check with the project manager in the morning and see where he's at as far as starting to schedule the project. But we might even get started on that prior to getting a contract over to you. But the contract will be coming fairly quick. As soon as John gets the budget finalized, we'll put that together and get it over to you.
Okay.
Hey, and Joel, the only other thing that we'd be waiting on right now is approval from DeHoff's architect.
Okay. And I can let you all go, but I realized when we started talking about that we probably have people in the leadership who have no idea what we're talking about when we're talking about that. So we started that process and got hit with that. No, that's fine. I'll update all of them. We've got maybe a couple other things that just to catch everybody up after we let you all go. So I'll catch them up on that catch that we caught.
Okay.
Yep.
Joel?
Yeah.
Donald, sorry to interrupt this meeting, but can you let John into the book study meeting?
Done.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're a busy man.
Right? Yeah. You wouldn't think I'd be so busy. Oh, geez. All right. Sounds good. I just happened to click on a tab and saw all the emails from Todd and everything else today. So I'll try to make sure I get back to you all within the next 24 hours or so on all that stuff. So we keep this project moving along, Ron.
Yep, no problem. We're excited to get it going for you. So yeah, we'll start moving that direction.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you all. I appreciate all your hard work during all this also.
You bet. Are you done with us then?
I think so. Unless you all have anything else, I think we're good.
I
think we're good.
All right. We're going to get off then.
All right. Very good. The rest of Harmony Springs folks, stay on for a couple of minutes. I'll catch you up on a couple other things we were referencing there.
Thanks, Joel. We'll see you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Guys, thanks.
All right. Harmony Springs folks, a couple things that were coming to mind. This has been a crazy couple months, but before all of this happened, I was trying to remember. So we had timeline-wise, we had a meeting to go over the budget, and we narrowed down the scope of the project. Chuck took that information from our meeting. We emailed back and forth a little bit. I took that Chuck's information to a meeting with Weaver, and they flexed those numbers and communicated with Todd to try to make some changes to the plan, which is what we just went over with him. So they tried to make as minimal changes to the project as possible to get us to our budget numbers. So that's what you saw and what the plan is. That's up on the screen now, and that hopefully you have. If you don't have it, the most updated version, I can send a follow-up email to this with it. I know we've had multiple versions going out, and I'm happy to answer any other questions for the next while here if we want to have a conversation. But so he sent that plan out back to us, and then all of this stuff happened, and we kind of just sat on it for a while as we were trying to catch up on doing everything else for the church. So but I did want to make sure that we weren't delaying this project any further. And when I had the conversation with Ron, it seemed like from Weaver's perspective, they wanted to keep the project moving along, or felt like they had the capacity to do so. So the conversation tonight and the conversation with him prior seemed like we could at least keep things moving along as best as possible. I know with this coronavirus, day by day, things change, and the way we are operating one day is different the next day and the next week for sure. So who knows? We'll take this whole thing sort of day by day here as the process goes on. But this is where we're at for now, I guess. The part of our meeting tonight where they were referencing the developer's architect, what they were referring to was a catch that we made in our initial sales agreement with DeHoff on the property. And that came about because I reached out to Jennifer Fernandez, our sales agent, who helped us both sell the High Street Church and buy that property, just as a backup contingency plan, to ask her if we ever wanted to sell any part of our 9 acres, if we could, if it was even possible, and what that would look like. Not for any other reason than because we were in a budget crunch, to possibly consider that as a possibility. So Chuck and I were kind of emailing back and forth on that. She sent us some information about it. The outcome to that conversation was that it is possible we could sell at any juncture that we wanted to. We'd have to have a survey done on the property and decide what part of the property we wanted to sell. We could decide to sell an acre, 2 acres, whatever. We could decide it, but it is possible. So as a part of that process, I knew that there were some stipulations with DeHoff that I had heard about when we bought the property, the one stipulation I knew about when we bought that property was that if we ever wanted to sell the property, there was a stipulation in the agreement, the sales agreement on our property, that D. Hoff had sort of a first right or first offer right, that if we ever wanted to sell the property, he had the right to make us an offer to begin with. And I kind of wanted Jennifer's opinion on that. If we ever wanted to sell the property through her, what that process would look like. And she and I emailed back and forth a little bit. This is all before coronavirus, of course. She and I were emailing back and forth about that a little bit to see what that would look like. And as a part of that process, Donna actually realized, in her trying to pull out all of those sales agreements, that a part of our sales agreement was that if and when we built the church and developed it, that D. Hoff actually had to give their approval for the church building or whatever building or development we wanted to do on the property. So on one hand, I guess it's good that we caught it now instead of, I don't know, we might have gone through the whole process and he might have not ever realized that it was in there and it might have not ever come up, but at least we caught it. And so that's what Weaver is referring to. So basically what we needed to do was take our plans and then D. Hoff, and I guess D. Hoff had his architect look at the plans, and then D. Hoff has to give us some sort of approval, whatever that looks like, a written approval or some sort of letter that says they have signed off on our project. There's also some wording, legal wording in our sales agreement about like our road signage. Also, when we get to that point, they have to give us approval on that also. So it's just good for us to know, because I think Lynn Slavey was involved in that negotiation with him. There was a lot of sort of extra legalese in that sales agreement that might not just be sort of part of the typical agreement. So in the end, I think it was good that we went back, because it had been so long since we bought that property, and reviewed all of those agreements that were made as a part of the purchase of that property. So that's what they were referring to. It seems like we're close to sending them all of the information that they want, and for them to give their approval on the building.
Joel,
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a
Go for
question too. Carol, go ahead.
Okay. If we do decide to sell off some of our property, does that affect how we have to have drainage and things on the property? Or is that something that whoever bought the property would have to take care of then?
The little bit of conversation I had with Jennifer about that was that if there was a potential buyer on whatever part of the property we would want to sell, like we would just provide them all the information we had and the studies we have, like the wetland and all that, and then it would be their responsibility then to take that and deal with it for what it is. I don't think, it's like buying a house, I guess. At that point, you're the seller. It's your responsibility to provide all the information to the buyer, and then their responsibility to do with it what is required, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm assuming we would sell the swampland.
Yes. Oh, and while you're saying that, she did actually do some work on our behalf, which is interesting at the very least. And she had an appraiser give his opinion on our property, and I'd have to go back for sure. Her emails, a lot has happened since then, but obviously, and she said this too, obviously that first part of our property where the swampland is worth the least amount of money. But as you move back in our property, those acreages are worth, I think she said somewhere between I want to say the median amount was like $125,000 an acre, something like that.
Well, that'd cover our shortfall in building the building, wouldn't it?
It's something. Yeah. So,
But if we sell part of the property, we can't sell the part that we built on.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
So So we'd have to sell the front part where all the water issues are.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we didn't get any farther than that. I was just trying to kind of check it out to see what she had to say about it.
Okay.
Joel?
Yeah.
My question is to everybody who was a part of High Street. Does anyone remember how we happened to negotiate that term with DeHoff? That just sounds odd that he would have to give his, after we buy the property from him, he'd have to give his approval on what kind of building we put there. Can anyone remember how that came about?
Get down.
Hmm.
I had never heard that stipulation before, that we had to have DeHoff's approval for our building. I had never heard that before.
Yeah, that's news to me. I just wondered how that, how we happened to come up with that, because that just seems odd. Once you buy a property, I don't know why the previous owner would still retain some kind of rights over what you do with it.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm not High Street by any stretch of anyone's imagination, but it could be, in a sense, to make a cohesive building across that swath of property, because we have the house and the empty space, from where the barn was is, and down to Goddard, and maybe, to make sure that we built in the same places and it didn't become some weird like zigzag of buildings or something like that. That's the only reason that makes sense to me.
I would think that the city would be able to make those decisions without DeHoff's input, but it's in the legalese, so we must abide by it.
Yeah, I can understand why DeHoff wants it, but I can't understand why we would agree to that. But oh well.
Yeah, I can't either. I think maybe he snuck one by on Lynn Slavey.
Yeah, the only other thing that I can think of is that, the agreement to buy the land was actually, it wasn't directly with DeHoff. He was the main principal in it, but it was with Green Land Trust. And they actually were sort of an entity that owned like all of that land in that whole quadrant. So, maybe it was more something like they just wanted to make sure that like everything sort of looked the same or had the same sort of, feel to it. Who knows?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the feel of the entire city of Green, is the
Yeah.
whole brick and I don't know. I think that they just want a very traditional looking town that is cohesive. So
Yeah.
I guess we don't have to worry about it unless he asks us to make some changes.
hopefully they won't be expensive changes.
Yeah, and it sounded like the only thing they were mentioning in the call tonight was putting some shrubbery around. What were they talking about? The HVAC system on the outside?
Yeah. At the back of the patio, the HVAC and I guess that's all that's back there. So it's like behind the storage room, kind of behind the garbage area, that
Right.
you can see it very faintly on the plan written in there that there's big units there. And I would imagine we'd want to cover those anyway, because we'd be able to see it all from the patio.
Right.
So, I mean, just for aesthetic purposes, we're going to want to plant some stuff there.
Right. Okay. What else? Oh, I was trying to. So I asked Todd if he would put together those like 3D renderings shots that we've kind of been like, I put some of the initial drafts that he put together or sent to me on Facebook. And then earlier today, he sent the like, I think would be the finalized versions based on feedback that I got and that I gave back to him. And I put those final versions on Facebook and was going to try to, if I can, I could maybe find a way to email them or pull them up, but they're kind of neat, and I thought they might help us generate a little bit more excitement when you actually see like an actual picture, 3D picture of the inside of the building. It's kind of neat. Especially one I thought was kind of cool that he just sent me today was a picture of the patio, which is kind of cool. Way cooler than I actually expected it was going to be. So
it's huge.
Yeah.
That patio is huge. It's going to be a wonderful asset.
Yeah. So I think that could be really neat. And maybe we could somehow get that more widely distributed to the congregation, especially while everybody's, bored and sitting at home, either with another printed mailed newsletter or something with them nicely printed or something like that, so that people can we can start to regenerate some excitement about the building and with some updates about it going on. Oh, there you go, Greg. Yeah, thank you. That's great. Yeah, the patio. Yeah, how cool is that? I actually really like the modern furniture kind of look with that too. So that's kind of really neat. All right. What else? Chuck did get a chance to go to the Maslin Church, and I think we had sent out an email at some point with his inventory and some pictures of all of that. The trustees themselves probably need to have some meeting to kind of discuss what all is there and what to do with it all, or plan with, for all of that. We can figure that out here. If this shelter in place is going to go on for a while, I guess that's one thing we could try to figure out. Chuck, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was kind of impressed with the number of books we saved and less impressed with everything else that we saved. We have a few tables and some sort of relic type chairs and kneeler and some other, candelabras and things, but I don't know how useful all of it's going to be in a new building, maybe other than the tables and a few chairs.
Well, I would think the candelabras and things like that would come in useful for especially weddings. For people that want a more traditional type look to the altar.
Yep.
If you think back to when we started this whole process, one of the most important things that was on our must-have list was a library, and no longer do we have that on our must-have list. But that's why we saved all those books.
Yeah, and I don't even know in today's digital age if people are accepting books.
Well, the libraries will always take books. They'll keep what they want, and they have book sales for the rest, and then the rest gets donated out of the country usually.
Right. I noticed in Jackson they're building a new library, and it doesn't look like they have very much room for books.
It'd be interesting to spend some time. I'd be interested to look through what all of those books are. I know Donna one time was saying that telling me we had a lot of boxes of books. Sometimes church and ministry books are like there can be a lot of them that are, they get written for a certain period of time and then they're can be outdated pretty fast.
Yeah.
And other ones that are more like historical that, we should try to probably keep around or find some way to keep around. So I don't know, you almost take some people going through them and really figuring out what's important and what isn't, maybe.
As I recall, I think it was Judy Mills spent a lot of time trying to figure out what was worth keeping. So there was some effort in that. It's not just random, box.
Yeah. But how long has it been in storage? And how long is it going to be until we get it out of storage to be useful again? I mean, we'll want to go through it again and weed it down even more. Because I think that there's boxes upon boxes of children's books in there too, that we're just not going to have room for all this stuff. We're going to want to keep some things in the areas where we do children's ministry, but not boxes and boxes and boxes of books.
Okay.
One thing we do have a couple of pianos and organ, and haven't really seen that kind of added to any of the renderings. So I assume we would use something like that. Morgan Schnabs.
Morgan Schnabs.
That's me. Thanks to my granddaughter. Yeah, I don't know if we'll completely rely on an electronic keyboard as we go into our new building. If the Eilers and the Cucklers are willing to continue to store the two pianos we saved from the church, which were the two best instruments that we had at church at High Street, then those items can stay in their houses maybe for a little bit longer. And probably, although we saved the electronic organ, the Rogers organ, which is a pretty good instrument and could have lots of different sounds, I think that's a bear to move, and it would not be practical at all in our new building to move it into the space and move it out. You wouldn't want to have to move it back and forth.
Is it being used by anyone else right now, or is it just sitting in storage?
No, it's in Stephen's Church in Massillon, and instead of in storage, we made an agreement that they could put it in their chapel and use it until such time that we said maybe we'd like it, or whatever the future we decided in the future. But it
maybe we could sell it to them.
I'm sorry, Carol, didn't hear you.
I said maybe we could sell it to them.
Either that or just be nice and give it to them. But
well, that too.
No, we put it there with the understanding that if we decided we did want to have it, then we would, they were just holding it for us.
Right.
But holding it in their chapel so they could use it. But I guess I'd want Terry to look at all these instruments and help make that decision. And then, of course, Joel, and deciding what we really want to have happen on a Sunday morning, or, for, I don't know if you want to have a piano, an upright piano for any parties or other things, or if a keyboard is the way to go for everything. But
I think an upright piano is a good thing to have. And they're all on, well, the one that we use for choir practice at the Cucklers is on wheels anyway.
Right.
So we could use it anywhere in the building.
Yeah, an upright that's on wheels is at least movable and takes up the least amount of space for any type of piano, so that's good.
The one at Eiler's house is also on not just the wheels of the piano itself, but on one of those carts. Do you remember that, Carol? If the piano sits on a low to the floor frame, that's a wheeled cart. So you can move that one all over too.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure that we would need two unless we're going to do a dueling piano bar.
Yeah, but I'm just saying they're both movable.
Yeah.
Terry does do that.
I know. It would be fun, wouldn't it?
All right. The only other thing I guess, oh God, there's all kinds of things swirling around in my mind, but I did want to let you know that Dawn and I have been starting to read some of these articles that are getting emailed, things people writing about with the Congressional CARES Act, that it seems like there is some potential that the church can qualify for some money and grants to help. It's like they're intending it to help nonprofits continue paying staff during this time when giving is down, which pretty much every church, I think, is experiencing right now without in-person services happening. So I saw Donna was sending a few emails to some folks today to ask about that, but I think it's a possibility that we may be able to file some paperwork and potentially have some subsidizing through that act to help with that financial part. But we have been talking about in staff meetings and with some other folks that one blessing, I guess, is that we want to keep moving forward with the building project, but at least we're not paying a lot. We haven't paid out a lot of our money yet up until this point. So I think a lot of churches, as this crisis keeps going on, are struggling, that didn't have a lot of, cushion, financially speaking, in the bank. And at least we have that. So that has not been worry, I guess, at the top of my list right off the bat. We were able to, just worry about each other and making sure everybody was doing good right off the top of our, heads with this whole experience, and trying to just make sure that we're adapting. So I guess that's been a blessing in a lot of ways. And, we heard from Ron tonight that at least Weaver is figuring out how to adapt to all this and make things work through it all. So I guess there are some blessings through all this, and we're figuring it all out as we go. All right. Well, I guess that's all I have. I'm willing to entertain any other questions, comments, or concerns that anybody else has that's logged on while we're all sitting here.
As far as the services go, I don't know. I assume we're off through the end of April, like everything else, right?
Absolutely.
So just have to do that through April and see what develops.
Yeah, I think we've just been trying to pay attention to the recommendations the governor has been putting out on in-person gatherings. And we've just been trying to follow those recommendations as much as possible.
Okay.
Sunday mornings, we've been getting decently good. We're a few weeks in. We'll see. The technology has been interesting for everybody to adapt to, but we're coming along. We'll see. We discussed some more alterations and changes we can try to make for this coming Sunday that might make it a little bit smoother and easier for everybody. So we'll see.
Personally, I thought overall that last Sunday went quite well, especially compared to the week previous, and it was real good.
I'm sorry, I wouldn't know. I don't get my butt out of bed before noon.
But Carol, that's the beauty of it. You can watch church from your bed.
Not if I'm asleep.
Oh.
Well, Carol, now we have our YouTube channel, so you can watch it once you get up.
Well, that's true. That is true. I also had an invitation from my brother to go to the drive-in church virtually down in Daytona Beach. So I was thinking about going and seeing their service too. But it's no different because people just go and sit in their cars. My brother said that last Sunday they had 800 people in worship.
Yeah,
Because
who knew he was going to be so prepared for all this?
Yeah, they could all just sit in their car, and they had over 1,400 people online viewing their service.
Wow.
Yeah, he was pretty impressed with those numbers.
Yeah.
So he said that that Bike Week turned out to be about nothing, which normally he's got 10,000 people during Bike Week coming to the church for services, and he said that that the Daytona 500 is probably canceled. So
I would think, yeah.
Yeah, and they just built a brand new building very similar to what we're going to be building. It's a slightly larger, but it's, a big reception room. The church offices and things like that are in this building, and they had to shut it down. They had to close it up because it's just, you can't gather in it. They can't serve coffee and donuts anymore. So they shut down their brand new building. So I just hope that all of this coronavirus and the quarantines and the isolation and everything goes away by the time our building's built.
It's certainly really difficult to know, isn't it? Because, they say our numbers in Ohio will top out in another, 2 to 4 weeks. And then you figure it took 2 months to get that high. How long is it going to take to come back down? And how far down will it get before our activity outside of our houses start to raise the numbers again because of so many people who have not gotten it yet? So there's no way of knowing how many waves are potential, And when restrictions are lifted, they're going to lift very, very slowly. Maybe suddenly, everybody can go where they want.
No, it's going to be a slow, a gradual thing. I miss my morning breakfast place so bad, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're good. I think we're all on the same page here.
All right, sounds good. We'll stay in touch. Originally, before all this coronavirus, we were going to meet every couple of weeks leading up to groundbreaking. I probably will keep that schedule here through April. We'll just have to do it this way. If Ron wants to keep, he'll have a construction schedule and that kind of thing to go over with us. So we'll just have to do our best to try to do it this way for as long as we need to. If that's all right with everybody, we'll just keep trucking along.
I think that sounds great.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Sounds good. Everything. So.
Agreed.
everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take
bye.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Joel, just a quick fun story for you.
Yeah.
So today,